I have known for a while that I should have started earlier. Not in a motivational poster way, but in a specific, numerical way that I kept choosing not to look at directly. So a few weeks ago, I finally ran the calculation. I sat down and worked out what precisely 1 year of delay costs with real numbers. And I want to share what I found because it clarified something I had understood intellectually, but hadn't felt in the way that actually changes my behavior. The financial cost was meaningful. But the bigger cost wasn't money at all, and it's the one I think about most now when the temptation to wait a little longer shows up. The financial calculation starts with a simple question. If I had started investing an extra amount 1 year earlier, what would the difference be over the long term? I've been building toward a target of around $800 a month in side hustle income, and I've been thinking about this seriously for roughly 2 years. So let's say I could have started 1 year earlier than I actually did. So what did that year of delay cost in financial terms? Basically, there are two components. The first is foregone income. If the side income had been 1 year further along, so 12 more months of building, also 12 more months of compounding audience and content, then the conservative estimate is somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 in additional income over that year. It's low because the early period earns very little, but it's still real money. The second component is the investment cost of that foregone income. $1,000 invested at 25 instead of 26, compounding at an average market return over 30 years becomes roughly $8,000. That is the compounding amplifier. So small amounts early become large amounts later. And the year you delay is always the most expensive year to delay because it's the one with the longest remaining runway. So the total financial cost of 1 year's delay in my specific situation sits somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000 in lifetime terms, depending on the assumptions. It's real money. Might not be catastrophic levels, but quite real. So here's what the two scenarios look like side by side, starting 1 year earlier versus starting when I actually did. With YouTube, had I started 1 year earlier, I might have 50 videos published already, maybe 200, 500 subscribers already, maybe some early ad revenue beginning, skills definitely getting better, and the algorithm data I would have for 12 months already. So basically, the person who started a year earlier isn't just a year ahead financially, they're in a different phase altogether. They have the data, they have an audience beginning to form, they have the skills. So the year's difference isn't just a year of income, it's a year of compounding progress across every dimension simultaneously. And now that's what makes it expensive. The financial cost is the part I can calculate because it's just numbers, but the part that's harder to quantify is the part I think about more. Skills compound too. Every video made is a lesson in pacing, scripting, editing, hook writing, even thumbnail design. The first 20 videos are expensive in the specific sense that they're the ones where the most of the learning happens and almost none of the results arrive. So getting through the first 20 is the price of admission to the phase where things start to work. So in that sense, a year of delay doesn't cost you 12 months of effort. It costs you the first 20 videos. The expensive, unrewarded learning phase, which means the phase where things start to work is also pushed back by a year. And every month of delay is a month further from the part you're actually building toward. There's also a compounding I didn't anticipate when I started thinking about this. The compounding of self-knowledge. I know things now about how I work, what I find sustainable, and what format fits my thinking that I could only have learned by doing. That knowledge arrived from repetition, not just from planning. So a year of delay is a year without that very important feedback. So the person who started a year earlier isn't just further along on a track, they're also making better decisions because they have more data about themselves. So you can think your way to the knowledge that only doing gives you. The year you delay is a year of that knowledge you don't have. So the year I delayed was 2 years ago. I knew what I wanted to build. I had read enough to understand the compounding argument. I had the time, the equipment, even the rough topic. But what I didn't have was the willingness to make bad work in public. I think anyone can recognize that. So what did I do? I waited. I waited for a better plan, maybe a clearer niche, maybe a version of the first video that I felt I was ready to make. But those things never quite arrived because the feeling of ready doesn't precede the doing. It actually follows it, and sometimes by months. So I ran this calculation because I wanted to know exactly what that 1 year cost me. Not to punish myself with the exact number, that won't help me along, but because being regretful is easier to dismiss than having like a specific regret. Having a specific regret is actionable. It tells me exactly what I'm spending when I wait even 1 more week. So here's what I would suggest you try for homework for next week. Pick something you've been meaning to start and haven't. It doesn't have to be a YouTube channel. It could be maybe an investment account, some side project, or just a skill you're meaning to develop. Now, draw 2 columns. Column 1, where you'd be if it started a year ago, and column 2, where you are now. There's no need to be precise, just estimate the cost across 3 dimensions: financial position, skill level, and data or knowledge you'd have accumulated. Now, that difference between those 2 columns is what waiting 1 year will cost you. And that same difference is what waiting another year will cost you from today. That's the whole calculation. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. And that is all. So I ran this calculation so I would have something concrete to return to when the temptation to wait a little longer shows up. And trust me, it shows up often. So having that number or that data table in front of me really helps. And it doesn't create panic. It just gives me specific clarity. And with that specific clarity, I can take the next steps. So thank you for watching. Comment down below how your tables look, if it in any way motivates you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!